Let's see what we got here. We're telling your followers that you started a live video. You've started. Hello, welcome. Welcome everyone. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to join here. JC, how you doing? Crone, how you doing? Bacon Mouse. Perlian. Yeah. Welcome everyone. Marvos, welcome. So as you guys may know, I run a record label, Graydient Collective, and we just had a release with this amazing artist called ELAC. He has a history on Mousetrap and on Night Bass, if you've heard of it. And basically it's become a tradition at this point where I hop on Instagram Live with the artists that we release on Graydient and have a little conversation regarding the song. So in a moment here, I'm going to invite ELAC to the stage, and we're going to talk for maybe half hour, 45 minutes about his new record. There he is now. The man is here. Let's go ahead and invite him to join. How can I do that? Hold on. There we go. It's Tyler Garrett at SD. Welcome, both of you. Hey, man. Good morning.
How are you?
Great.
Good?
Hey, yeah. What time is it over in Australia?
9 a.m. So I've gone for my morning walk to get some physical activity before I begin my day.
Yeah, man. I was out all night, and I woke up later in the day today, so it feels like morning, even though it's like 3 p.m.
Yeah, I know. I saw your stories. It looks fun.
Yeah, and Juna did this event yesterday, and my buddy 28mm played, and we got on the stage and played a new record. It was cool.
Nice.
How was your evening yesterday?
It was chill. I just stayed at home, messed around with my my dog on the computer, trying to write some new music. Had my girlfriend over, and she was I'm kind of showing her how to make music lately because she's becoming more and more interested in it. So yeah, no, it was good. Just a chill night, man.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I love sharing that, like teaching people how to write. It's always a good time. Yeah, nothing beats like a good night at home. I just happened to be out yesterday. 99% of the time, I'm like right there with you at home.
If there was an Injuna Beats party going on in Sydney, you bet I'd be out there as well. So
yeah. How is the music scene in Sydney? I mean, I'm not overly familiar. I've only heard some things, but I'm not super familiar.
It's taken some damage over the last few years. Probably about 5-6 years ago, it was in a much, maybe even longer. It was in a much better place, and you know, we were going out till 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. The city was live and vibrant, but due to shitty politicians and rules and regulations, it essentially killed the scene, man. Lockout laws did massive damage. A lot of clubs had to shut down. Wow. There were still a few clubs that were lingering, and it was okay, but then COVID hit and just did even more damage. And it hasn't really bounced back since, man. It's been really tough, and a lot of people are trying to bring it back, and a lot of the big clubs are shutting down or rebranding. So I wouldn't say it's in the best place at the moment, but there are some people out there that are trying to push it and bring it back. So hopefully it comes back soon, man, because I miss going out, I miss DJing, I miss partying in my home city, man.
100%, yeah. I'm not even familiar really with like what's popular over there. Like I hear a lot about like Melbourne.
Yeah. Australia is always like 5 years behind in what America does, I've noticed. So whatever's popping there 5 years later, Australia follows on. So at the moment, I feel like dub, bass, UK bass, tech house has kind of died out at the moment, but dub, UK bass, techno, there's obviously techno is everywhere though, so kind of that stuff is really doing well. And then you got your commercial cheesy stuff, but yeah, they're the main ones at the moment that I can think of.
Is like I what is it? Melbourne Bounce? Is that like still a thing in Australia?
Yeah, kind of,
All right.
You know, Will Sparks was the king of that.
Yeah.
And he's still doing Melbourne Bounce, but he's all over the world now, and he's doing he's doing like 140 BPM hard side bass thing. So whatever he's doing, it's kind of had its peak, but it still happens. But you still hear it a little bit, but nowhere near as much as what it used to be.
Yeah, sure.
Am I too windy for you, by the way? Am I too windy?
You're great. It sounds fine. When you were getting into music, was that like very prevalent in Australia, or like when did you get into it?
When I got into music, it was 2010, 2009 was like the beginning of Skrillex, and I actually came from metal. I used to be I still am a massive Metallica fan. And from Metallica, I found Skrillex, and there is very similar. There's a lot of similarities between Metallica and Skrillex if you kind of think about it. They're both hard.
Yeah, I mean, he came from rock, right? Like he approached dance music with like that electronic feel, or the rock feel. Yeah.
So Skrillex was the beginning, and then from Skrillex, I found Deadmau5 actually, and then from there it was like, what was it? It was like electro was popping around about 2010. So that's when I started to get into electro, and then I moved to big room, Melbourne Bounce, deep house, and now I'm back at electro.
I can kind of hear like the progression in there. Like some of your stuff has that like Melbourne sound. Yeah. Like embedded in there, like in the DNA of it, but it doesn't feel like dated. It's like a new wave of it. It's cool. I love it.
Yeah, well, I guess that's just influence over the years, you know. Some people even tell me that they can hear psytrance in my music, and I am heavily influenced by psytrance sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
hell yeah. So I think we initially connected. For those of you watching, ELAC here just had a new record on Graydient. I wanted to just give some context. I think we connected through Eddie, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
How did you?
Must have been.
How did you connect with him initially?
It was in right as soon as COVID hit. I started to like discover, like I was kind of always making electro in my old alias, but I didn't really know that there was an electro community out there. I didn't know that Nomana existed. I didn't know that Eddie existed. And when I stumbled upon Nomana one day, I was like, holy shit, like this is the stuff that I want to make. This is the stuff that I want to do. I'm trying to do. And there's someone out there doing it that's really good at it. And then I kind of realized, wow, he's on Mousetrap and so is Eddie and so is all these other people. I was like, wow, okay, no worries. I'm going to try like connect with these people. So I just sent out music to Eddie, and then we got talking, realized he's from Australia as well, and then started playing Call of Duty together in lockdown. So we became close like that, man. So
I mean, you guys have to be in a relatively small pool of Australian like electro progressive artists, right? Like
I
can think of like do you know Winter Six?
Yeah.
He's like in that same little loop. Yeah. And then Eddie and you. not many. Dirty South, right?
Yes. I know. There is a handful. We have a lot of great talent that comes out of Australia, man, but they start to realize, all right, we got to get out of this country. So
there's not growth here for me.
Not really.
Got to get out. Yeah. I know Eddie basically followed that exact path. He recently moved over here.
Yeah. That's the one. That's the ticket.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day you'll be touring in America. Hopefully that would be a day soon to come. So do you play shows as well, or is it just in the studio right now?
No, it's predominantly in the studio. Just ever since the new project dropped, it was like I dropped it during COVID, so it's kind of been hard to bounce back. I've played a few shows, don't get me wrong, maybe like 5 or 6, but no, it's not.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Still all right. Still, the project's only fresh, man, like a year and a half old, so it's
for sure.
Still early days.
So, if you don't mind my asking, what were you doing before ELAC? You don't have to reveal your alias, but you could tell us what you did.
Oh, oh no,
I'm curious.
my alias before ELAC was actually just my first and last name, Ali Benici. I was making everything deep house to a bit of tech house, and then I ended up with bass house. I had releases on Confession, Ministry of Sound,
Hell yeah.
What's Norso Blanc, just a lot of European labels really, and a couple Australian labels. So yeah, that was good, and I was starting to pick off. But I just felt like I was getting stale and stagnant with it, and my branding was off. So I wanted to do something fresh and new, create more of like a story and create more of like a connection between my fans and the project. Hence why I started ELAC and developed the character and stuff like that. So it was more memorable.
Yeah, I love that approach. I mean, it's something that we care about a lot at Gradients. It's like I feel the visual impact and like the world around the song is just as crucial as the music is these days.
And yeah, especially today's day and age with social media and Instagram and all that stuff, and you need to have on-point visuals alongside the music, you know. And I'm all about that as well. I learned 3D. I learned how to do 3D just for that, you know what I mean? So it's good.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm unfortunately we didn't really get to utilize that on this project, but like it's really cool to see you making your own visuals and working in 3D. Are you using Blender or what are you in? Yeah.
It's so easy. There's so many YouTube tutorials, and if you just apply yourself, you can pick it up very fast. I actually know how to use. I feel more comfortable doing 3D than I do 2D. You know, like
fair enough. Yeah.
A photo.
I think the truth about that is that really, like, if you build like interesting geometry at all and you light it nicely with a nice texture, it can look good.
Exactly.
But with 2D, it's like you really have to like be very particular and nuanced in getting everything perfect. So that is definitely true. I've noticed the same thing. I've only dabbled in the 3D world. I'm more of a motion graphics artist myself, like the 2D world. But the few times I did get into 3D, it was like I was very surprised at how easy it was to like make things look good. Like you could take a sphere and make it look amazing with lighting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody who's just joining now, ELAC had this new record on my label, Graydient, come out on Friday. It's called Can't Escape. You can stream it everywhere. Why don't you tell us about like your writing process with that one? Like, how did it come to be? I know it's a step away from your normal electro roots.
Yeah, exactly. I guess I just wanted to like try something different, you know, not just make fat bangers every single time I sit in the studio. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still a nice big banger track, but it has a bit of more of like a progressive commercial a melodic, memorable feel, you know, and catchy vocals, catchy melodies and stuff. So I wanted to push my creativity, see what I can do, and kind of really force myself to not get too disgusting and too dirty. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. Everyone's telling me that it's catchy and the melodies are stuck in their mind, so that's great. I'm very happy. But I just applied, just tried messing around. I use other songs that I'm inspired by, and from Eddie, from yourself actually, and just like kind of just try to focus on keeping it commercial, short, melodic, and memorable. So yeah,
I think you nailed it. Like it feels adjacent to your electro house. It still sounds like an ELAC record, but it has that like progressive, for lack of a better word, commercial sound.
Yeah,
I love it.
Thank you.
When you were writing it, or like I guess in general, like what is your process like? Do you start with the instrumental? Do you start with like the top line? How do you approach?
I think with this particular track, I started with the chords. I'd like to mess around. I just load up serum patches, something easy, just play around on the keyboard, and I just mess around. And I think I heard something that I liked, and I just laid it out in my piano roll, and I kind of just worked upon that, and I go, all right, noise, I'm getting a vibe. Then I always add in a kick just to get the beat going and get the groove going. And then I started with a top line, and then I think I had like about a 2-minute, 1.5-minute chunk, and then I go, all right, no worries, I can feel a vibe here, kind of needs a vocal. Went digging for a vocal, and then yeah, the rest was just all happened naturally. It was actually a pretty quick, it's on the quicker side, you know. Usually songs take me weeks to months, but this one came quite naturally and quite fast. So that's always a good sign to me that it's going to be a good song when it comes so naturally and quick and easy. So
yeah, there's something to that for sure. I feel like if you can write something fast and get it down and it sounds good enough to you to release like in the first few sessions, it's something that's like you know, personal to you, and it's better than other stuff that you would have to really carve for months. You know, at that point you're just trying to make it good, whereas like if you can knock it out immediately, it's like, this is good to start with.
That's completely how
I write in a similar way, man. I start with the chords, I start with the melody. I think that the melody is one of the more important things in the song. It makes it memorable, or at least like the pattern, right? And even in like electro house, like the bass melody is very integral to like how the song flows and how memorable it is, right?
Yeah, exactly. In a typical big electro house track, you know, I don't really start with the breakdown, which is quite usually not the key front of the track. You know, I usually start with the drop or the bass line, because that's the main point to me, you know. So that's what I try to focus on. That's what I did in Can't Escape. I focused on the chords first. So
yeah, and then the vocals came later, and I know that we worked on it a little bit throughout.
We did little tweaks to make it
best record it could be. How did you this is like unrelated to the song particularly, but how did you land on that character for ELAC? I was always curious about that.
What was it? I think I wanted to keep like this as much as I can, but I've always had a thing with like aliens. So I guess I hit up I was stumbling across Instagram and I found this graphic designer called Mason Need Ladder. Great artist. And he does 2D painting. But I just said, dude, I love the way you portray your characters. They all have like a certain like vibe. Like they just like, they seem mean, but like it's just you just look him up, Mason Need Ladder, put him in the search. But he just, the way he does his characters were great, and I thought maybe he could do something like half human, half alien, and just kind of like infuse like a version of myself, like a skater boy kind of look in with alien facial expression.
So in a way, he's kind of like an adapted version of your present. That's the goal. Got it.
Exactly. I kind of wanted to keep me who I am, but also change who I am. So kind of like my alien brother.
Yeah, for sure. I was just curious if it was like his own character, or if it's supposed to be like a amalgamation of you, because I know, like, let's say Eddie, for example, he has his own little guy that lives alongside him, but that's cool that it's a representation of you.
Definitely wanted to keep it like me, but not exactly like me, you know.
Maybe one day you can have like a little plushy ELAC or something. That'd be cool.
Oh, don't you worry, man, I've got all these ideas that are coming.
So what else do you have like coming up that people can be excited for? Like, what are you working on?
I have about 30 IDs that I need to get out. So you and me both. You can be ready for a very busy 2023. The music's ready. I just need to do artwork and put it all out. I'm in talks with releasing again on Night Mode. Nothing confirmed.
Awesome.
But just
they do great material. I love what they release.
They're great. They're all good to work with, and they stream very well, and they put a lot of effort in, and they're really popping right now. So excuse me, huffing and puffing. I'm very unfit at the moment.
You and me both, man. I think the pandemic really did a number on all of our health.
Oh man.
Like, I 2019, I was so healthy. I was going out to shows, just playing festivals and everything. And then like a year of just sitting at home put me back like 5 years of like, you know, health basically.
it's made us all lazy, man.
Yeah.
Like I was at the gym nonstop, and now I'm just like, oh.
I've got a gym in my building that I don't even use. It's how lazy I am now. I know. Yeah.
It's a building. It's
I know.
a building.
It's something I've been looking to get on. So who are some of your favorite artists right now? Like, what have you been listening to that inspires this new stuff?
This new one, actually, my girlfriend's kind of got me into that. I really like what he's doing, especially his deluxe mixes, Lost Frequencies. He does have commercial radio music, but I feel he has like some awesome arpeggiated, like just cool, just forward-thinking music. If you just look up Lost Frequencies and his deluxe versions of all these songs, they're awesome. So I'm kind of inspired by that at the moment. What else?
Definitely gonna have to check that out. Yeah.
Cool. Zonderling, another one, very similar to Lost, very similar, but I'm loving that style. I'm always gonna be forever influenced by Deadmau5 and Neelix. Neelix is like one of my favorite artists.
I find that's a very popular thing in Australian artist, Neelix. I feel like he was big over there or something.
Well, he's huge. He's obviously much more bigger in Europe, but here in Australia, like, yeah, we have a pretty good psytrance community here. It's underground, but it's, Neelix, I love Neelix, and all my friends love Neelix, and he's great. So I'm heavily into
some great names, yeah. Yeah, I love all of them. Deadmau5, Zonderling particularly is underrated. I think a lot of people don't realize it's like Noisia.
I know.
I don't know if you knew. Yeah.
It makes
that
so
always
much
blows my mind.
It makes so much sense because of how good it is.
Yeah. So do you see yourself writing more progressive down the road, or you gonna step back into the electro thing for a little while? Coming up.
I'm not gonna put I'm not gonna restrict myself. So I know I definitely love electro, and I love making it, and I love putting it out there. I'm not gonna just bottleneck myself with electro. So whatever comes, it comes. I'm writing whatever I can, but keeping it as ELAC-y as I can.
Yeah.
You know, keeping it as squelchy as I can. So
yeah, I think that your sound is defined by the way you write music, not necessarily the genre.
Yeah.
I approach it in the same way. Like, if I'm writing a song, it will land wherever it lands, but I'm gonna write the song however I want to write the song. Like,
I guess.
Yeah.
It's like a weird one. Like, you want to make whatever you want to make, but like I can't like make R&B tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's like,
sure.
You got to stay in
within reason. Yeah.
Oh, this is a bit of a techno one. Oh, this is a bit of a progressive one. You know, but it's still ELAC. You know, so I'm not restricting myself. I'm trying to write some techno stuff now at the moment, but keep it electric techno. You know, so just whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at this interesting point now in music. I don't know if you've observed this too, but like, it's a convergence of all the genres, really. Like, like techno is really becoming trance. Progressive house is like getting darker into the techno world. Like, house music, like John Summit recently, all of his new stuff is really just like progressive house, truthfully.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that they're all kind of converging back together into this one thing, and I love it, actually.
Well, that's like, the past few years, people have been saying essentially fuck genres. Like, just do whatever you
100%. Yeah. I don't know who perpetuated this wave, but it's a really cool thing.
Whoever did it, thank you very much.
Yeah. Maybe like a few I can attribute, maybe like Porter, like Skrillex.
Yeah.
Madion.
Well, even Skrillex, like you mentioned him, he's bringing back sounds and styles of music that were hot 10 years ago, you know, like he's bringing back the deep house donk, and just like his new album is just like, that's what we were all doing 10 years ago, and he's like rebirthing that. And people like that are so influential to the scene because they can just like push whatever they want, and people will just, okay, no worries, this is back in, this is hot, and like someone smaller might have not had that that capability to push it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah. I love when there's an artist at that caliber that really takes a leap and does something unique. Like Porter Robinson is a good example too. Like every time he releases a new project, it's very much like a reinvention of his sound, and it kind of pushes the industry in a different way.
yeah.
Or Skrillex, or like who else is a good example of this? Like I don't know. A great example is like Swedish House Mafia with this newest record. Like complete departure from like the EDM stuff into like this darker like techno
Yeah,
lane, and
exactly.
it's just refreshing to see, and it's cool to see these bigger artists kind of guiding that that path.
I am.
What do you think of this new KX5 record?
Everything
Have you heard it?
they make, man, everything they make is just like unbelievable. Like you got two of the biggest heavyweights in the EDM scene. They've been around like the longest, you know, and it's no doubt. It's like a no-brainer that's going to be great. I really like it. I like everything they're doing at the moment. It's awesome. Yeah, no with them.
My cats are like all up on me right now. Yeah, I love that new album. I was really impressed. I think it has like some of the Deadmau5 like inventiveness, but it has that like cascade arrangement that makes it just very satisfying and dance floor ready. Like they complement each other's weaknesses, I feel. Like not to say that either of them has a weakness, but they both have their strengths.
Yeah, exactly. Got two different strengths. I think they actually said that in an interview.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cascade has that amazing like approach to arrangement and dance floor compatibility and like working with songwriters and that sort of stuff. And Joel has that really inventive, like creative side that brings new ideas to the table. I feel that maybe Cascade wouldn't have considered. So it's a really cool project. I've been really enjoying it. It's a good year for dance music with that and then the 2 Skrillex albums, which is crazy.
I know. And it's going to be even better every year in the next few years, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, and this new ELAC single. Yeah. So let me think. I know you work in FL Studio, and that's something I've noticed a lot is like a lot of Australians use it. Do you think it's like a thing in the culture there?
I feel like a lot of the Australians that you might know have been making music for such a long time. When we started, FL was the thing. Right. Ableton was the thing. And some of us said, nah, we're going to go try Ableton. And some of us just stuck with FL. Right. I actually, when I first started, I'm very good friends with a guy called Tom Burden. I don't know if you know him, but he's pretty big. He's pretty massive. And he kind of like got me into it. And he said, just use FL. He was on FL. I just stuck with FL. And once I go with something and I'm successfully making music, I feel no need to
expand into other things. Yeah.
But I am open to trying Ableton. And I think that'll be a project of mine this year to at least like download a free trial and like give it a crack, because I feel like sometimes I do get just a bit stuck and bored in FL, and I feel like learning a new software might help push that creativity and try different things and new things. So yeah, I think I might try to learn Ableton this year just for the sake of knowledge, you know.
I've been doing this for so long, man. I feel proficient at like all of them. Like
did you start on it?
So I actually started on Logic and GarageBand as like a pair, like on my phone and on my MacBook, like back in 2009 or 10. And then I switched over to FL Studio for a very brief period. And then I was doing YouTube videos like on DJing. And on that front, I started learning Ableton as a DJ tool. And then I realized it could be its own feature-fledged studio program. So then I eventually ended up moving from FL to Ableton and consolidating my like live show and my my studio into one big thing. Yeah, but I think if it wasn't for that, I probably would have stuck with like FL or Logic.
Like FL looks visually more appealing in my eyes to Ableton. So like,
I'm a very like minimalist, like Bauhaus like designer, so I'm like very into the aesthetic. But I totally understand the point of view. A lot of people say that as well.
I feel like if you're a new kid as well, like starting out, you want to make it as easy as possible. And FL's pretty
Right.
good like that. You know, it's all there and nice and bright colors. It's like, oh, wow. You know, so you can kind of understand what you're doing. And I guess I just stuck with it. But yeah, it does have its limitations, and Ableton does have its pros over FL. But
I would say they both do.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's certain things that they both can and can't do that the other one can and can't do. So yeah,
Yep.
doesn't really
We
matter.
got Vintage and Morelli in the chat. Hello.
What's
I was going to ask you, as a proxy of that, when did you actually start producing? Like, did you have a musical background before? I know you're saying you were into like Metallica, but were you like writing music in that style, or were you just, when you got started, you started in electronic music?
I used to play drums a little bit when I was younger, and then I got into guitar eventually. For my 18th birthday, my dad and mum bought me a guitar.
That's awesome.
And I started teaching myself on that. But I actually wasn't making music till I was about, I think I downloaded FL when I was like 19, or I think I downloaded when I was 18, but I was like, this shit is too hard. I'm
too
not
complex. Yeah.
It's too complex. And Tom was trying to teach me, and I was just like, nah. I was DJing at that point, but I was playing house parties and stuff, and I was kind of just, I really cared about DJing. But Tom said one thing to me, and that'll always stick with me. If you want to progress as a DJ, you need to learn how to make music. And it's true.
It is
like
true.
You can only get so far with just being a DJ. So it was about 19, 20. I'd say 19, I kind of really went, all right, I got to start making music. And I just started pushing myself, and I started playing. And at that point, I was into EDM. I was into like deep house and whatever was popping back then. So I started to try to make. It was horrible. Oh my God. You know, but
oh yeah, man, I have years worth of stuff that sounds terrible, like back from 2011, like that kind of era.
Yeah.
I think you and I had a similar path, man, because I started, when I started, it was from an interest of DJing, and I was DJing like friends' parties and house parties and like whatever I could get my hands on, basically, for a few extra bucks here and there, and then eventually fell into the music production thing.
How old were you?
I was like 14.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you were young.
I've been doing this since like 2011.
Yeah, wow. When I was 14, I was just playing Call of Duty every day.
What what time did you get into music?
I think I was like 16. My parents bought me Guitar Hero.
Hell yeah.
And I was shredding on that shit, man. I was playing expert every song. I was like, yeah.
Oh man. You know what? I was the same way. I don't know if you ever played DJ Hero.
Yes, I got that. I was pretty good at. I was better guitar. DJ Hero was fun as well. I still got that.
I just love the sonic, like the mixes and like the music of DJ Hero so much.
Yeah.
It was really cool for the time. You had Daft Punk and Deadmau5 and like all of them in there. It was sick.
It's crazy how a game like that could influence myself and probably many other people out there.
I know for a fact I was influenced by it.
Yeah.
Like there was a large component of that, like love for DJing, that was probably propelled from that. It was like a whole thing. I don't know why. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be
it's good. And
interesting to do like a poll on that, like to see how many people are actually into it.
How many people birthed their career in music from DJ Hero or Guitar Hero?
Right, 100%. Like, or at least like that is what sparked the spark, I guess. A lot of people say Dance Dance Revolution. Like I know my buddy 28mm loves it.
Yeah, is that the one where you like with your feet and stuff? Is that one?
Yeah, exactly, with the cross. Yeah.
I was never fit enough to do that. I was
never fit enough or coordinated enough to do that. I can't do that shit.
Yeah.
Like
No, Mana's pretty good at that. I've seen a video once.
Yeah, so he's probably one that was like highly influenced by Dance Dance Revolution, DDR, they say.
Right.
Because I know Porter and Madeon attribute that to like their history in music. Like that's where they started, just making like Dance Dance Revolution songs. It's crazy.
The influence, man, the influence.
Did you so you completely self-taught in music then, or you just
Drums, I did it in school band, so you could say the teacher taught me.
yeah,
But I had like a knack for groove,
right.
and that's why a lot of people do tell me that the groove in my tracks, like all my tracks from every single song I've made, has it's pretty good, the groove. So I feel like I can thank learning drums for that. So yeah, drums I was taught by teacher, and the guitar I just literally just tried to teach myself. And YouTube is I was born in a great era where YouTube was popping and thriving and still is. So you can learn literally everything you want to learn from
100%.
YouTube.
Yeah.
So yeah, same with production. Just talking to my friends. I never went to school. I never went to any classes. Nothing. I just kind of like applied myself, learned YouTube, trial and error. Turn this knob. What does this knob do? Oh, it does that. You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, learn from there.
Yeah, I'd have to say, like, I unfortunately did not have that luxury when I was starting. Like back in 2011, 12, it was very much a different climate. Like the tools were not the same. There was very few YouTubers, and I was figuring it out kind of as I went along.
Yeah.
And I was actually making YouTube videos to like share my discoveries in Ableton, like how to do things. And I think that's I'm largely known as a YouTuber, at least from the past like 5 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And
yeah, your video editing is really good. So like I can tell that you
appreciate it. Yeah.
From that world.
Yeah, I was like a YouTube content creator for many years, and then I became like full-time musician probably 2018. And I've shifted my priorities from YouTube to like, you know, doing this. But yeah, there was not the tools back then, and I was probably one of like the 5 people on YouTube teaching Ableton. So I when I was right out of high school, I flew to LA to visit my aunt for like a week. And the Ableton team like invited me to their like headquarters here in LA.
What?
And yeah, and I was telling them, because I was like 18 at the time, so I was like, I just flown out, and they were a fan of my videos and stuff. They send me like their software and stuff, their hardware. The push, they sent it to me when it first came out. And I went there, and then I was telling him, like, I'm thinking about going to music school, because I was straight out of high school when I came. And he's like, man, you could teach anything that you would learn at music school, like at your level. So that really stuck with me, and I ended up not going to college, and I ended up pursuing like music education and then music as a full-time.
He just saved you thousands of dollars as well.
He really did, man. And there's something to be said about like the camaraderie and like the core ability to, you know, find resources and to find help immediately if you need it with schooling and formal education. But a lot of the information you would learn there is definitely available, like on YouTube these days. Like you can learn anything.
You might have to dig more because you can't ask a specific question, but it's all there. Someone else in this world has had the same question that you've had before, so 100%. It's out there.
Yeah. It's astounding how much information is out there for free, and then there's a lot of people selling information that's already available for free. Like the courses and stuff. Yeah. Have you ever considered like ELAC presets or sample packs or things like that?
I have done. In my old alias, I did. It was in a collaboration with the label that I had released on. I just sent a couple of like 10 bass samples, 10 kicks, blah blah blah. But yeah, I have thought about it. I could eventually do something. I do save my own stuff. I do have a folder of my own kicks, claps, hats that I've made or resampled and manipulated over the years, and bass samples, leads. So I could possibly do something eventually. It's actually you brought up a thought. I might try it. I might
it's a fair way to make some passive money.
Exactly, yeah.
Definitely more than like streaming.
Yeah.
So when that's an interesting concept. So you actually make I know some producers, they like to like spend sessions on making loops or like sounds or presets or like drums or whatever. Do you do that as well, or do you like
I
make it
think,
as you go along
yeah,
per song?
I do.
Yeah.
I make it as I go along, and then there's certain tracks that might not see the light of day, but had a cool loop
Right.
or a cool groove or like a mad bass or something. I would save those. You know what I mean? Because then I don't know when I'm gonna actually apply that to a song that will get released. So yeah, I do have my own loops that I make. Sometimes I get lazy and just use a loop that's pre-done, or like sometimes I'm in the mood and I can feel the groove and I make something myself from scratch, and it feels good like that with the step sequencer where you can just put in and create your own loop. So yeah, I do make and save and reuse my own stuff quite a lot actually. And as the years go on and as I got more comfortable, I started to make my own synths, like my own sounds and stuff as well. Because in the earlier days, you just use a preset and you might tweak it or adjust. But I'm not saying that that's still bad. Like I still do that from time to time, but I feel like I'm pretty well knowledgeable with Serum now and what style I want and what baseline I want, and I have a certain way of doing things, and I kind of just go and do it. So
In your opinion, like what is the most important component of a song?
The groove.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I figured you would say that.
Yeah. Groove is what you can do, the groove with the drums or with the bass line or with anything, the way you swing your notes, and that's what gets people moving. Like, don't get me wrong, like a techno track with just a boom, boom, boom will still get people moving, but like in my style of music, like the swinging left to right and like the side step, that's what gets people moving to me, and like that's funky, that's groovy, and like that's what I kind of like try to. I don't try to do it. I think it just naturally comes to me because I've been making music for that long, and that's how I do things. So
it's inherent to the way you approach music, man. Like I feel the same way with grooves. Like I can't write something straight on. It has to have some sort of groove to it. You know?
Like, it feels robotic and stagnant. You know. So.
Yeah, 100%. I would say like melodic writing for my stuff personally. I think that a key melodic element will make or break like the memorability of a song.
Well, Storm is actually right. Squelchy bass is number 2 priority always.
You gotta have that squelch, man.
Gotta have that squelch.
At least for electro house. At least for electro house. Do you foresee electro house being a big thing in the next few years? Like, what's your take on that?
I would like to hope so. Fingers are crossed. The fingers are crossed. I feel like it really has the potential. I feel like, especially in Sydney, promoters.
I'm gonna say over there in Australia, it's got it's core to your culture, right? Like that bounce.
Yeah, it is, and I feel like it could be bigger in Sydney, maybe Australia, for that sake, if the promoters actually gave it a chance. Because they're the ones they're running the club nights, or they're the ones that are, organizing the events. And if there's, I wouldn't say there's plenty, but like there's enough guys in Australia that are trying to push electro that could have been added to a lineup. And I know that the patrons, the people that are coming for the event would appreciate electro. Like I music out to my friends or to other people, or other just random people just hit me up saying, "No, this stuff is cool," but there's no opportunity to play it live. So I feel like it would be bigger if people got behind it more. And I know it's not the biggest genre in America, but America is also a lot bigger.
I think, in my opinion, I don't know if you observed from afar, but like the techno revolution, as it were, in like 2019, when techno became very mainstream here in the States, we had that like sudden pop of mainstream techno. It was kind of gilded by, I would attribute a lot of that to IO.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah,
I think we're still feeling that effect now here in the States, at least, where techno is really popular. You have a lot of these really cool like mainstream techno artists like Killscript, Cloud, whatever, Hellbound, and I think a lot of that is just a ripple effect from what he was doing like 4 years ago in techno. And I feel as though electro house is very similar to techno, where like with techno, all it took was like people hearing it live on a big stage for them to get it.
Yeah.
I think with electro house, if there was some sort of like catalyst artist that really like took off and brought it to a main stage appeal, maybe people would be more inclined to get on board the electro train. You know, I think it really is going to take something like that to bring it to like a mainstream audience.
Definitely. I feel like also, yeah, that is a very key point that you've just raised. So if we had someone like a Skrillex or Porter
or whatever, yeah,
it'll pop off, you know. And but also what helped techno, I feel, is techno is a lot easier to listen to. It really it's so simple but so powerful and effective, you know, and it's been around and it still is hot and has been hot for years in Europe, you know. So America has just seen that and worked on that, and IO was smart enough to say, I'm going to do my own version of that, and then he kind of
make it more mainstream friendly, like more trance influenced, where it has that EDC appeal, you know, that he could play it on a main stage.
So yeah, and electro's been dead for 10 years, man, and it's kind of only just started to being rebirthed from the likes of Nomana, Eddie, myself, I would like to say, and a few
I would consider what you guys are doing a completely new wave of electro, because I don't like I appreciate the work of like Feed Me and like Wolfgang Gartner, but I think that's a separate like lane altogether from what you guys are doing. You're doing this like very bass driven, kick driven electro that's a whole new animal. I think Nomana is more or less the pioneer of that kind of stuff.
Well, Wolfgang and Feed Me do come from like Maud Fustang, the Complextro era of
electro. Sure, right.
Is it? Don't get me wrong, I still like that stuff, but yeah, ours is definitely different. But it's like like a cousin.
Yeah, 100%. I think that if you guys keep chugging away at it, I think it'll eventually catch. It's a really good sound. Like whenever I see Nomana play or Eddie play, I'm always like, man, this goes really hard, like surprisingly heavy, and like everybody in the crowd is always super into it. It's always just like, how can we convert these people who are into it live into like fans that will hop on the train, you know?
Oh, they're out there, and a lot of them are in America, and that's why we need to get my ass to America.
Is that like something that you're considering, or is in the cards?
Yeah, definitely. It's up there. It's in the priority list of. It's at the moment. There's nothing really here in Australia going for it, so I need to kind of do whatever I got to do to end up where I need to be. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a big step.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, hopefully at the very least you'll be touring here in the next five years, you know? Like have some big ELAC shows here in the States. That'd be awesome.
I hope so. Well, maybe I can bring my kitchen sets there as well.
Yeah, you have to bring the whole setup.
My whole
you can cook donuts.
Everyone can come, my whole family, my dog, we can all
By the way, for everybody who's watching, ELAC here did a stream on our Twitch yesterday where he cooked and DJed at the same time. It's going to be on our YouTube like relatively soon.
I washed the dishes. That's
so. I used cooked in a very very loose definition there. You did a little bit. You stirred a few times.
Yeah. All right. We'll be doing that more often. My household is quite chaotic.
It was very entertaining to watch, though, I gotta say, compared to like a DJ putting his hands in the air. All right, well, everybody watching, ELAC here just put out a new record on my label, Graydient Collective. The account is Graydient Arts with a Gray, and you can go stream that new record. I think that just about wraps it up here. Do you got any other words you want to say, buddy?
Thank you. Thank you for everyone that's listened. Thanks for joining in. Hope you have a great morning. I've been on this walk now for a very long time, and I'm sweating, so I'm going to go home and shower.
Go take a shower.
Yeah,
and go stream Can't Escape.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.